What's up, family? Welcome to another episode of Apostolic Insight. As always, I'm your host, Henry Tolbert, and I'm super excited to share with you what the Lord has put on my heart for you this week. Before we get started, you know what I want you to do. I want you to jump in the chat. Let me know who you are. Let me know that you're here, man. I so appreciate all of you faithful watchers and supporters. I so appreciate you. Your support means absolutely the world to me and to us. And we are just grateful that God has started to use this show to really be a help to some people over the past few months and weeks. So many of you have gone from being just listeners and watchers to being supporters to even being partners in one of our coaching programs and things of that nature. And we are grateful to God for you. So take a moment. Let me know in the chat where you're watching from. We're on YouTube and Facebook tonight. And so whichever platform you're watching from, take a moment and just let us know that you're here. Let us know that you're with us. Let us know that you're rocking with us and that everything is flowing fine. All right. I'm super looking forward because I think what I'm going to share with you tonight, I know is going to have some lasting impact, not only on you, but on your ministry. I know that it's going to make a difference. I know it's going to be a blessing, and I know it's going to be something that you are going to want to engage with. So I want to encourage you to do something. Before I jump in, before I get started, I want you to take a moment. I want you to grab this link, whether you're on YouTube or you're on Facebook, and I want you to share this with your team. I want you to take a moment and share it with your team. And the reason I want you to do that is, again, what I'm going to be sharing tonight is going to work for everybody. We are going to be talking about how to do excellent ministry with very little budget. There are many of you who are out there and you believe that the thing that is holding you back is you need some resources, you need some money. And that may be true. I understand that money can be a solution, that money can make a difference. But I want you to understand that it is not your top level problem. Money is not your top level issue. I'm going to prove it to you tonight. You don't have to take my word for it. I'm going to prove it to you. But I want you to call your team. I want you to send this to your team, have them say, hey, look, I need you to jump on this call with me for about the next 60 minutes. And I want you to get them here. And the reason I want you to get your team here, because some of the things I'm going to share is going to encourage you, but it's going to equip them. All right. And I need you to get this. Sometimes what encourages you as a leader, because it's reminding you of something you already know, the same thing is equipping to your people. And so tonight, I want to do that. I want to both encourage you and equip your people at the same time. But in order to do that, you need to get them here. All right. So take a moment and get them here. All right. I'm going to get ready to share my screen. I want to put up what I want to share with you tonight. And I'm ready to dive into this, man, because I have been wrestling with this. I have been thinking about this. I have been praying for this, all these different things. And I know that what I'm getting ready to put in front of you tonight, you're going to appreciate it. You're going to love it. You're going to grab a hold of it, and it's going to make a difference for you and for your team. All right. So let's talk about this. We're talking about how to do excellent ministry with no money. And I want to start by telling you, money is not your top level barrier to growth. The real barriers to your growth are vision, faith, and stewardship. Vision, faith, and stewardship. So here's what I want to say. Whenever you are lacking money, there are 3 questions I want you to ask. And somebody, if you would, I want you to help me out by putting these in the chat. Good to see you, Pastor Pierce. Good to see you, Miss Ambrose from here in Birmingham. Good to see you, Pastor Karen. Good to see you. Good to see you, Pastor Paula, Pastor Melinda Russell. Good to see you as well. Thank you all for being here. And somebody, I want you to help me put these 3 questions in the chat. Whenever you are lacking resources, provision, money, I want you to ask 3 questions. Number 1, is the vision clear? Are we moving from a God-given vision, or are we working from a man-made idea? And I want you to ask that question because godly vision always comes with provision. It always comes with timely provision. So, is the vision clear? Is question number 1. Is the vision clear? Number 2, am I trusting God? Am I trusting God? That's the second question. Do you have faith? Is your faith matching what you're believing God for? Am I trusting God? And number 3, last but most certainly not least, am I making the most of what I already have? Am I making the most of what I already have? I want you to ask those 3 questions, all right? Number 1, am I walking from a God-given vision? Number 2, am I trusting God? Number 3, am I making the most of what I already have? Because the lie of lack keeps so many pastors and leaders and churches waiting on dollars instead of moving with God. The truth of the matter is, most of the people that you see today who you assume got all the money, many of them have stories of having to go forward when they didn't have it. And we're going to dive into it tonight. All right. So number 1, is the vision clear? Number 2, am I walking in faith? Number 3, am I making the most of what I already have? You cannot get what you want by disrespecting what you have. And we'll talk about it. All right. So let me give you a scripture that I want us to stand on tonight. Philippians 4:19 says it this way. And my God shall, come on, somebody already shouting under my God. I ain't even got to go no farther. I ain't got to go another further right there. And my God shall supply all of your needs according to what? How many people you got? Nope. According to how much money you got? Nope. A number according to the type of building you got? Nope. According to how hard you work? Nope. It says according to what? His riches in glory. And I don't know about you, but God ain't running out of riches no time soon. Haggai 2:8, what did he say? The silver is mine and the gold is mine, declares the Lord Almighty. If the one who is my boss, who sent me out here, if he has the silver and the gold, why am I waiting on the paper? Why am I worried about the paper? Why am I waiting on the dollar? Why am I worried about a dollar if he has the silver and the gold? And so the question is not a question of lack. It's a question of alignment. Am I aligned in my vision, in my faith, and in my stewardship? And we're going to dive into it tonight. One of the things I realized too, and I want to hit this before I get too deep into this, is one of the things that the enemy loves to do is, I see this so often. He loves to attack the church, especially smaller churches, in the area of finances. But let me tell you why. Please hear me. Man, listen, please hear me. I need you to get this. One of the reasons the enemy attacks the finances of small churches is because he's really trying to strangle the vision. Because most churches that are small today don't have small visions. You have big visions. And because you have big visions, what the enemy tries to do is he tries to abort you before your due season. And so he comes at the money because the money often frustrates the leader. It often frustrates the vision, and the vision is what he's really after. And if he can get you so distracted and so frustrated by the money, he'll try to get you to quit on the vision. Let me tell you something. I've seen this too many times in my own life. I've seen this even as we continue to build our company and build our business. One of the things that often happens is the enemy loves to take us through these moments where money get a little funny and stuff would get tight and stuff would become a challenge. And really what he was trying to do is get me so focused on money that I'm like, all right, what I got to do? What I got to do about this? And how do I do this? And how do I do that? And I lose sight of the vision. And that's the same trick that the enemy is trying to play on you. If you come to a place in your ministry where you equate ministry to money only, then you won't move forward. And actually what you'll do is you'll find yourself stalling, waiting for money to show up before you step out and do the thing that God has called you to do. Come on, I'm talking to somebody. Money does not always equal ministry. Somebody put that in the chat. Money doesn't always equal ministry. You cannot just grade and judge your ministry and the work that God has called you to do by the money that you have. All right. Quick question before I go to my next piece. I want to ask this question. Have you ever been delayed in ministry because you felt like you didn't have enough money? Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comment section. Have you ever been delayed in ministry because you felt like you didn't have enough money? Let me know. I want to hear it. Have you been delayed in ministry because you felt like you didn't have enough money? All right, look at this. Here's a lie that we often believe. Here's a lie that too many churches believe. We don't have enough money to grow. We don't have enough money to grow. Somebody put this in the chat. It is a lie. Come on, go ahead and call it out. We calling this thing out in the spirit. Call it out. Say, it is a lie. Listen, at our Underdog Conference, one of the things that I'm going to be teaching, and I'm going to be teaching this primarily from a marketplace standpoint for businesses, but I'm also going to tell this story with ministry. But the truth of the matter is, I have done two things and been a part of two things in my life that were really successful. I'm not going to say I did them by myself because I did not. Everything I built, I always had my wife and I always had a team. All right. But there are two things we built very successfully with no money. Number one, we started Simple Systems with no money. We did not start Simple Systems with a line of credit. We didn't start with a seed. We didn't start with any of that. We started Simple Systems with absolutely no money. Literally with no money. And I'm going to show at the conference next month, I'm going to walk through entrepreneurs and business owners and ministry owners do it. Even with our church, we planted a church that grew from 8 to 400 in 3.5 years. It started in our living room with 8 people. Our first service was the first money we got, $329. Now, we had people donate things to us. We did have that. So I'm not going to say we didn't have that. But as far as operational money, the money we had was the $329 that came in our first offering. In that church we planted in Louisiana, most of that offering came with my mama from our family in Birmingham. She just touched a few people here and there. I think like 3 or 4 people got together and sent like $300. That was our first offering. And out of 100 people in the room, most of them college students, we raised $29 more. And $329 was what we had to start. We started the ministry and the business that would come out of the ministry with no money. So I need you to understand, your growth is not limited by these tangible dollars that exist in this world. You can do it without it. And that's why I'm telling you to get your teams and you get registered for the Underdog Conference, because we're going to break down how we did it. All right. So let's talk about this lie really quick before I give you the framework that I want you to carry tonight. All right. So here's what happens when you believe the lie that we don't have enough money to grow. And this is true in your business. This is true in your family. This is true in your ministry. This is true in your health. This is true in your fitness. If you start to believe this lie, number one, you get stuck in survival mode. You get stuck in survival mode, especially if you are a pastor. You get stuck in survival mode. Why is survival mode so dangerous? Because when you're in survival mode, it gives you an excuse to say no to the things that really matter. It gives you an excuse to ignore the things that really matter. If I need to get in shape and I got stuff going on with my health, if I'm in survival mode, man, look, that's got to wait. Because if I can't pay these bills, I ain't going to be alive anyway. If I can't do this, I ain't going to. When you get in survival mode, you start throwing stuff overboard that is essential to the journey. You start throwing it overboard. And one of the most dangerous things that you start throwing overboard when you get in survival mode is relationships. You can become so focused on what you need, and you become so focused on what you don't have, that you will stop investing in the very future that's going to solve the problem you have. Look, let me just go ahead and be honest with you. Just go ahead and tell you the truth. I wish there was a shortcut, but let me be honest with you. There are some problems in your life there is no short-term solution to. There are some things that you're trying to do. There's some things that you're trying to build. And I had to learn this. I kept looking for the quick way. How do I get to a $25,000 a month? How do I get to a $50,000 a month? How do I hurry up and get to $1 million? How do I hurry up and get to 100 people overnight? How do I get to this? And it's like there are some issues in your life and in your ministry that there are no shortcuts. You got to it takes what it takes. I heard Nick Saban say that. He said, listen, here's why some people are champions and some people are not. He said, it takes what it takes. It's not going to go on sale because you're tired. It's not going to go on sale because you're desperate. It takes what it takes. I don't care what you want to do. If you think you're going to go from out of shape to in shape in 7 days, you're going to be sorely disappointed because it takes what it takes. And that's one of the things that survival mode robs you of. It robs you of the long-term outlook that keeps you focused. Another thing that survival mode does is that it puts you in a place where you start making decisions based on fear. I was talking to a pastor about that earlier today, and I said to him, one of the things that's holding you back is that you don't even allow yourself to dream before your budget talks you out of the dream you ain't even conceived yet. I said, so you stuck in a loop, brother. You stuck in a loop because you can't dream. I'm trying to help you dream and see a future and see a bigger picture. But you're already saying no because of a budget when we ain't even finished the dream yet. And you don't even know God might be sending you somebody to fund the dream. But they can't fund a dream you ain't even had yet. You won't let yourself have. And what happens is that when you get in survival mode, you start making fear-driven decisions. And you make decisions based on what could go wrong, not what could go right. And that's not where you want to go. The other thing that happens is that you start settling for mediocrity. You just settle. You just like, well, look, this the best we can do. If this is who we are, we got to be the best version of it. Nah, fam. You settling. You can't settle for mediocrity. And here's another thing that's really dangerous. When you get in survival mode, some people just stop. Some people just stop. I see some leaders, I see some business owners, I see some creatives who have just stopped. The challenges and the lies have just snatched the courage out of them and they just stop. And that's not God's will for you. That's not God's will for you. And one of the things that I don't want you to have is I don't want you to be so overwhelmed with anxiety about paying bills that you forget that you were called to build kingdom. You get so much anxiety about, well, I got to do this and I got to do that and I got to do this and I got to do that. And you get stuck on building the kingdom. You get stuck and you forget to build a kingdom. And a couple of months ago, we were in this series about the 7 shifts hitting the black church, and we talked about merge or die. One of the reasons that some churches are going to be put in a place where they must merge or die is going to be because the leader isn't going to have the faith to make the move that they need to make. They're not going to have the faith. I'm going to prove it to you biblically in just a minute. I'm going to stop right there because I don't want to get ahead of myself, all right? Now, that's what happens to the leader, but let's talk about what happens to the people when you believe the lie that you don't have enough money. You don't realize this, but your people can discern where you are better than you think. I think sometimes we assume that we do a good job of hiding how we really feel. Man, but your people know you like a book. I guarantee you, if I got your people in a room by themselves and start talking to them, they know you better than you know yourself. And you're like, well, when I feel this pressure, I don't put it on the people. I let the people. And the people's in there like, no, he don't put it on us, but we feel it. She don't put it on us, but we feel it. Your congregation will mirror your fear. They'll mirror it. And then one of the things that happens next is because you stop casting vision and because you don't have a compelling vision, giving will either plateau or decline. Right? Listen, like Just go back through your own history. When you stop casting a vision that is forward moving, giving often plateaus, it stays the same, or it comes down. Most churches who have giving that is on an upward tick, they're constantly casting vision. I believe in the Nehemiah principle. Nehemiah cast vision before he started building the wall. 26 days in, he stopped and cast vision again. When they finished the wall, they finished and he was still casting vision. So I believe in that principle. At least every 30 days, you ought to be casting vision. At least 30 days, you ought to be talking about something that's happening and something that God is doing. And vision is not always, hey, y'all, we finna go do this, or we finna go do this. Sometimes vision is look at what's already happening. Look at the doors that God has opened. Look at what Nehemiah did. Don't get me started on Nehemiah. Y'all know I love walking down that path. But Nehemiah said, man, you know the trouble we in. But guess what? When I was back there working, the king let me go. That's one sign God wanted us to succeed at this. Another thing, the king was like, what you need, man? He sent me security. Another thing, the king gave me papers to go get wood from the cedars of Lebanon. Man, he hooked me up. That was good. Another thing, he let us make it safely all the way here. We made it past. I had papers. So this thing is legal. The king is on our side, all this kind of stuff. He was casting vision. He was letting them know why the future was so important and what they were going to do. He said, y'all know very well the trouble we're in. Do y'all want to stay in this situation? No. Well, look, here's where I'm trying to get us. Can we rebuild this wall? Absolutely. Let's do it, Nehemiah. Let's go, Pastor. We got your back. You got to be casting vision. But when you don't have a vision to cast because you're so focused on what you don't have and what you need, then you kill what you already have. And so a bad situation gets worse. I know I'm talking to somebody. I know I'm talking to somebody right now. A bad situation gets worse. And eventually you build a culture of lack and not a culture of faith. You know, here's what I used to see all the time. And I haven't been around churches like this in quite a while. But one of the things that I noticed is that even when I was in college and we used to go to visit churches, there's a couple of churches where there was clearly a culture of lack. And the way that I saw the culture of lack is that every time it got time for the offer, you could feel the collective air go out of the room. Because the people were strapped. The trust between the leader and the people had been broken. Because the leader had asked for things for one reason and had to take what was supposed to be for one thing and make it for something else and all this kind of stuff and never came back to communicate it and never came back to talk about it. In some cases, the leader had to resort to fussing at the people to try to meet the needs and get what they needed and have what they needed to have. All of those things came from a culture of lack. All right. And so what we want to do is we want to move away from the culture of lack. All right. And what we want to have is a culture of faith. Somebody put that in the chat for me. Culture of faith, a culture of faith. That's what we got to have. We got to have a culture of faith. All right. So let me give you this one more part, and then I'm going to give you the framework for how you can do big ministry with very little money. All right. So let's talk Bible. Right. I don't want you to just take my word for it. Let's talk Bible, because I told you it is possible to build a vision and do excellent ministry when you don't have anything extra. So let me prove it to you. All right. So first example is the widow's oil in 2 Kings chapter 4. Y'all know this woman's story. She was down to nothing, had nothing left but her son, a little small bit of oil that she finna use to put with a little last bit of flour so that she can make the last meal for her and her family, her and her son. And they're going to eat that last meal, and they are preparing to starve to death. What does the prophet say? He says, hey, well, here's what I want you to do. Take that last little bit, and I want you to do something with it. All right? And then he says, look, this is what I want you to do. He said, I want you to go to your neighbors, go to everybody you can, and I want you to collect as many vessels as you can collect. Collect as many vessels as you can collect. I want you to go collect all of them. Collect as many vessels as you can collect. She goes out. She starts collecting vessels. And what happens? As she begins to pour, every time they put a new vessel, the pour never runs out. The pour never runs out. It just keeps on going. God multiplies what she already has. Did she bring some new oil from somewhere? No. She went and borrowed containers. And with those borrowed containers, the Lord said, I'm going to use this to get you where you need to go. And here's the thing. The oil did not stop until her containers ran out. As long as she had jugs, she had oil. And she kept on pouring. Here's what I'm trying to prove to you. Sometimes your miracle is in what you already have in your hands. My Lord, come on, somebody. Listen, God took her from debt to abundance. From debt to abundance, he took her. But she had to have the obedience to do what the Lord said. Here's what I don't understand, because maybe I think differently, and I know I'm not the average person, and I'm a radical, I'm a risk taker, I'm an entrepreneur at heart. But here's my whole thing. If you already don't have much, why not invest what you have in a direction that God is leading you, so at least you have a chance to break out of what you're in? What I don't understand, I'm like the 4 lepers. I'm like, listen, why are we going to sit here and die? We know if we stay right here, this is not going to work. So why should we just stay here and keep doing the same thing? Why not at least try to either go into the city, but we don't want to do that because we don't want to get our people sick. There's some people we love and that we don't want to get them sick. Or we can just at least go fight this enemy. So look, if we're going to die, why not die in battle? Why not die fighting? Why not die giving it a shot? And the widow had to die being obedient to the Lord, or she had to go forward being obedient to the Lord. Second option, second place, the feeding of the 5,000. How did they feed 5,000? The disciples are saying, all these people out here, 5,000 people, not including the women and the children. Disciples are saying, Lord, we need to send these folks home now. You know, folks get hungry after a while. You can't have people together too long. If we're going to do a morning service and go straight into the evening program, you know, we got to feed them in between now. You know, we got to give them that little styrofoam plate with the chicken leg, a wing, some green beans, a piece of bread, and maybe a slice of pound cake and some punch. That frappe that one of the ladies in the church know how to make back there, where you put the sherbet and the Sprite together. What, do churches still make that? That's our problem right there. We need to bring frappe back. But don't get me distracted, right? But the disciples are saying, Lord, we got to feed these people if we're going to have them here. What does Jesus say? He said, the disciples said, send them away. Let them go get some food. Jesus said, no, y'all feed them. And one of the disciples says, man, look, do you know how long we got to work to be able to feed all these? Do you know how much it's going to cost, Jesus? How many of y'all sound like that? Jesus is saying, I have brought 5,000 to your doorstep. And Jesus says, hey, look, go feed them. Are you willing to go feed them? And your response is, woo, that's going to cost too much. I ain't got, do you know how much I would have to work personally to do that? I showed. No, we can't. We ain't got it. What does Jesus say? Jesus says, before you tell me no, get clear on what you have. Before you start telling me what you can't do, tell me what you can do. Tell me what you do have. I need you to go search, go do inventory, because you're telling me what you don't have. But maybe, just maybe, I have put underneath your care something that is going to be a solution to this problem. So go tell me what you do have. And they go searching, and what do they find? They find one little boy whose parents were probably thoughtful enough to not send him out that day without a lunch. Most likely could have been a little a shepherd boy who was going out. Because I know even when I go to Africa, when I go out and you see the shepherds as they take their sheep, I mean, they could walk miles with those sheep. They just walk to open fields and open grass, let the sheep graze, and then they lead them back. And so maybe he was a little boy, had a lunch, whatever it was. He had 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread. And what did Jesus say? Okay, if that's all you got, that's fine. But bring it to me. Because what you have becomes more in the hands of Jesus than it is in your own hands. Jesus God specializes in multiplication, not just addition. He specializes in multiplication. He specializes in multiplication. He specializes in it. It's his thing. It's what he does. It's who he is. He specializes in it. He specializes. But here's where many of us would miss it. In order to get to the end, where everybody has ate their fill and all 12 disciples take home leftovers, you got to be willing to give up your 2 fish and 5 loaves. And some of you are holding on to your 2 fish and 5 loaves like it's going to sustain you, and it's not. It's not. And even if it sustains you, it's not enough for what God has called you to build. And you got to have the faith to let go of what you have to press into what God wants you to have. Last example is the Macedonian church in 2 Corinthians chapter 8. Scripture tells us that in their poverty, they were radically generous. They were radically generous. They found the ability to do absolutely amazing things. They found that ability to do absolutely amazing things out of their poverty. This is the same church that where Paul had a vision. Paul is trying to do all this different stuff. Goes to all these different places. He's trying to go in Spain and all this stuff. And he has a dream of a man in Macedonia saying, please come and help us. These people did not soon forget that it was faith that got them to where they are. And it was going to be faith that was going to take them forward. How dare I abandon the God who sent me help when I needed it the most? And just because times get a little hard, I'm going to abandon him and trust something else when I know he's the one who came through for me. This Macedonian church, they give generously even in their poverty, because when they had absolutely nothing, God sent somebody they needed. You got to be willing to let go of what you have to get what God has for you. Man, listen, if I could bring some of the people in the chat right now, from some of the people in the comment up to this call, some of these churches, some of these pastors who lead small churches, pastors who have less than 10 people in their congregation, 30 people in their congregation, 50 people in their congregation. And they stepped up. When we met, they stepped up to the place and said, no, I know God called me to do this, so I'm going to make it happen. And joined our program. And the Lord just said, look, we're gonna do what we got to do. And that's just one example. I'm not saying our program is the end all be all. But what I am saying is I recognize the act of faith that it took on behalf of those pastors. But that's what it takes. It's going to take acts of faith for you to get where God's called you to go. Sometimes it's not your job to fund it. It's your job to believe it. You got to believe it. You just got to believe that God is going to do what he said he's going to do. And he is going to be who he said he is. All right. So let me give you the framework. All right. Here's a 5-step framework I want to give you. If you want to do ministry on a very small, but you want to do excellent ministry on a very small budget, I'm going to show you how to do it. All right. I'm going to give it to you. All right. So let's talk about it. Number one, you got to build a culture of generosity. You got to build a culture of generosity. Now, when I talk about generosity, I want you to understand that my personal, how I interpret scripture as it relates to generosity and stewardship. I believe that giving is an act of worship, but I believe what we give is also a sign of our worship. And so as we give, I think there are 3 primary areas that we need to be aware of if you're going to build a culture of generosity, right? And somebody help me out. I want you to put this on in the chat, because this is not going to be on the screen. There are 3 areas that you need to be thinking. Number 1, you need a culture of generously giving your time. A culture of generously giving your time. Time is one of the things that you need to give. Right. And you've got to lead out on this if you're the leader, and you've got to challenge and keep and maintain the standard for other people to lead out on this as well. All right. So if you're going to build a culture of generosity, one of the first things that people need to give generously is their time. But here's what it takes. It takes you having a good use for people's time. If you waste people's time, they will stop giving it to you. If you've got people around you, people in your ministry, people in your camp who once gave their time and stopped, it might be because there are places where you wasted it. So you want to build a culture of generosity. It starts with time. Number two, it starts with talent. I believe that it is a travesty if everybody else benefits from our gifts except the one who gave it to us. I believe the God who gave us our gifts ought to benefit more than anybody else. And so you need to build a culture of people generously giving their talent. So you need to have a framework as a leader so that when God sends specific talents to you, that you know where they fit. Where do they fit? If God sends you somebody with specific giftings, where do they fit? All right. That's one of the documents that we used to create. I'm going to pull this back out because I haven't used it in a while. But we used to give our churches a document called How Gifts Fit. And that How Gifts Fit document takes all of the results from a spiritual gifts test and matches them with gifts in the church. And it matches them with those two gifts so that when somebody comes in with a gift, you can say, okay, based on your gifts, here are the ministries where you will be a great fit, right? So you need to have a culture of generosity with talent. And then the last one is treasure. That's the money, the finances, the tithe, the offering, whatever phrase you use. You got to build a culture of generosity, right? And one of the ways that you build a culture is in what you celebrate. What you celebrate. You've got to do a better job of celebrating when people step up in these areas, right? I give you one simple. What kind of message do people get when they give to your church? If I give digitally, do I get a thank you email, a thank you text message? What do I receive? What comes next? One of the things we teach in our program is for our pastors to send a monthly email, a monthly generosity thank you email, where you capitalize or you summarize rather all the things that the ministry has done in the last 30 days and let people know it's because of your giving that we were able to do this. It's because of your giving that we reached over 50,000 views on social media this week through our live streams, through the last month through our live streams, right? You find stuff to celebrate. It's because of your giving. We were able to show pastoral care to 3 families last week who were going through bereavement. We sent families and provided meals for those families, but we did that is because of your giving, right? Whatever it is, you got to tell stories and give testimonies that are connected to generosity, right? So you got to build that culture of generosity. It's about what you learn to celebrate, all right? Number 2, here's the second thing. If you want to prepare to build a new culture of financial generosity in your church, you need consistent ways to give. You need to have multiple ways to give. All right. You need to have multiple ways. I'm a firm example. I'm a believer that you need to have multiple ways to give. You need to have an in-person envelope. Yes, you need to have an envelope that people can fill out and they can give in person. You need to have a mailing address where people can mail in their gifts. I learned this lesson. Man, I had a faithful tither years ago who asked one day, was like, hey, Pastor, what's our P.O. box? And, at the time I was really young, so I thought it was a weird question. I'm like, why should I need to know our P.O. box? But thankfully, the Holy Spirit held me back. And I said, all right, I gave it a P.O. box. I'll never forget it. This was in Grambling, Louisiana. And the next word out of her mouth blew me away. She said, thank you. She said, I'm setting up my tithe to be automatic as bill pay from my bank. And I need to put the address in there because every month, so I ain't got to do it. I ain't got to touch it. Before the money even gets to me, my bank is going to mail out my tithe, the same amount every month to the P.O. box. And so when you go to the mailbox, Pastor, every month my tithe will be there. Blew me away. And this was a young person. Blew me away, right? And she did. I'll never forget it. That check was $235 every 2 weeks. And for us at that time, that was a game changer. That was a game changer. Because that was one of the early days. Nobody was getting paid. Nobody was taking a salary where the musicians was getting a stipend. But listen, it was like, man, look, to God be the glory, right? But we had ways to give. You ought to have online giving. That's a no-brainer. You need to have online giving. Online giving allows people to not only give when they're not in person, not only to give digitally through their credit and debit cards, but it also allows them to give on a recurring basis. All right. You need to have the other giving platforms, Cash App, Venmo, whatever, like all of those. You need to have them because people like to give different ways. You know, typically what I see, you'll find somebody who loves Zelle. You got a person who loves Cash App. You got a person who loves Venmo. And whichever one they use, that's the one they got set up. And so I think it's safe to have all three so that however people want to bless you, they got it. Listen, I went to speak at a conference a few months ago, and I came off the stage, and I was just standing in line after the conference, after the session was over on the break, talking to people. And anybody who wanted to talk, I just stood there. Now, keep in mind, it's like over 1,000 and some people at this conference. But anybody who wants to talk about what I presented, I stand there and I talk to him, and I'm just patient. And there's this guy over to the side. He just watching me. I can tell he's just watching. Like, and I'm thinking he's waiting in line to come talk to me. He comes up to talk to me at the end. And he says, man, what do you think about this? And he asked me this super technical question. And we just nerded out for a minute. And he was like, bro, you got Venmo? I was like, yeah. He was like, man, he was like, I don't want nothing from you. I don't want nothing in return. I just want to sow into you, bro, because I just believe in what you're doing. And one day I want to be doing what you're doing. And so I want to sow into you. And best believe, if I didn't have Venmo, I'd have missed out. He was like, man, that's all I got at Venmo. Can I send it to you that way? I was like, psh, absolutely. I got Venmo. I got Zelle. I got Cash App. Matter of fact, I know how to do bird calls. You can send me a carrier pigeon if you want to support the vision. I don't care what it is, but you need to have multiple ways for people to give and support. You don't know how much you're missing if you don't have multiple ways for people to give. All right. Number 3, let's go into this. This is very important. You need to steward what you have. Here's a question I need you to ask. Where are you wasting money right now? Where are you wasting money right now? Too many times in your budget, you are wasting money on something that doesn't matter as much as the thing that you're believing God for. Where are you wasting money right now? I'll never forget this. This was when I was early in pastor. I was talking to a pastor, and I was like, bro, we need some money, bro. We got to get our money up. Like, we got to get this. He was like, man, you need to do this thing. He was telling me something, just this vision thing to go into. And I'm like, bro, we ain't got the money. He was like, yes, you do. And I was offended because I'm like, bro, how you going to tell me what I got? Right. But this was somebody who I was very close to. He was like, all right, let's walk through it. He was like, how much you spending on this person? I said, this much. How much you spending on this person? This much. How much you spending on this? This much. How much you spend on this building? How much you spending on this bill? How much you spending on that? Are you paying for these apps? Are you paying for this? Are you paying for that? And by the time bro finished, we was up to like a $4,000 a month budget. And I'm sitting here like, bro, we ain't bringing in nothing. And for us at the time, as a very young church, I was sitting there. He was like, see, told you, you got it. You just spending it on other things. Where are you wasting money? Where are you spending money that you shouldn't? You know, I know Pastor Karen is on here. And man, if y'all missed her session for our Thursday night coaching call, my Lord, today, it was so good. I'm turning her notes into an ebook. It was so good. But listen, she would tell you that you need to have somebody with some financial expertise to review your finances and your budget. Pastor, let me tell you something. Sometimes you need somebody to save you from yourself. Let me just tell you. Sometimes you need somebody to save you from yourself because you can do everything, but you can't always do everything at once. And you've got to learn to have seasons where you focus on the things that are really going to move the needle. You got to focus on the things that really gonna move the needle. Look, I was talking with our staff just yesterday and then last week because we're getting ready to shift one of our core programs, our main program, our church systems boot camp, which is our program where we're very, very involved. We're getting ready to shift it, and we're finna turn it going into the end of this year into an intense 90-day cohort because we're getting these churches who are like, man, we need to go forward, but we need to go forward fast. Like we don't want to wait. I want to be aggressive. I've had several pastors say to me, like, man, look, I want to hit the ground running, man. I didn't try other stuff. I didn't try other programs. I done this. I done that. We need to hit the ground running. And so we're going to transition that program into an accelerator where we're going to do a 90-day sprint with pastors and their teams. 90 days of hitting it hard. And if you're on here, you're in our boot camp, you'll be grandfathered in that program, so you're good. Don't even worry about it, right? But it's going to be us going in and saying, all right, let's audit some things. Let's go in and let's audit everything. Let's look at everything. Now, we're going to be focused on systems and all of this, but one of the things that you've got to do in your finances is you need somebody to help you audit it. You need somebody to help you eliminate dead weight. Let me tell you another place where you're wasting money. I'm trying to be gentle, but no, I'm not. I'm just going to say it what it is. Some of y'all are wasting money on musicians who are not moving the needle. You just are. You are wasting money on musicians just to say you have a musician. They don't carry your culture. They don't carry your DNA. They are not bringing the glory. They are not bringing an experience. And you wasting budget that you could be spending on growing the actual ministry and on growing and developing people. You're wasting money on that could be going to outreach into your community and to stuff that really matters. You're wasting it on personnel that does not move the needle. I'm a firm believer. Every staff person on your staff should pay for themselves, which means that they should help generate what you pay them. Listen, I knew I was going to get an amen from Pastor Paula. Pastor Paula ain't playing the radio. Like, y'all ain't finna come up here no any kind of way and not be in line with the vision and no, we're not doing that. I'm not finna take what these people are sacrificing to help build this vision and you anti the vision. No, I'm not doing that. We will sing on these tracks. We will sing on these stems. We will sing these congregational songs until we raise up some folks in-house. I'll put some folks up there that are not as good, but whose hearts are in the right place. I'll put them up there. And I'm telling you as somebody who made that transition before. I went from hired hands to sons and daughters. And you've got to make sure that, listen, the enemy will absolutely rob your vision by convincing you to keep investing in people who are not in alignment with your vision. They are not. It is, and what most people don't realize is that you cannot build, it's really hard. It's almost impossible to build your future team on the backs of somebody who does not really want to be there today and doesn't plan on being there tomorrow. When somebody is not bought in and sold out with your vision, they're not making future plans. And so you might as well be speaking another language to them because you're talking about where you're trying to go and all they care about is that check gonna clear. I don't know how I got on this, but it is what it is. But listen, I'm telling you, you have got to steward what you need to figure out. What are you wasting money on? What are you wasting money on? What are you wasting money on? Because you got worship, you got a band, but you don't have a decent website. And so when people go searching for you, they can't even find you. So what's the point? Like you missing it. And please hear me. I'm not saying worship is not important, but I'm saying aligned worship is more important. And you got to have the things in order, right? So you need to audit. Where's your dead weight? From a financial standpoint, is your desire for souls reflected in your budget? How much money you got set aside for discipleship? How much money you putting into outreach? How much money you putting into communication? How much money are you putting into the things that you say really matter? Far too many churches say, oh, we want to be a disciple-making church. Oh, we need some leaders. Oh, we need these different things. And if I come in and look at your budget, what your budget says is, oh, we just need to have church on Sunday, and I'm good. That's what your budget say. Now, you can say what you want. But as we say in football, the eye in the sky don't lie. Look, players come to the sideline of, Coach, I did this, Coach. He was doing this, Coach. He was blah, blah, blah. Okay, give me a minute. I'm finna look at the film. And in these modern day, I ain't got to wait until next week to go back and watch the tape. I could pull out an iPad on the sideline and go back and look at the play. You lying. You lying. You talk about, we serious about evangelism. It ain't in your budget. Why serious about evangelism? But the people who want to do evangelism got to go do that out of their pocket. Why? Make it make sense. All right, let me move on. All right, that's number 3. Number 4, let's keep going. All right. The other thing that you can do in order to do excellent ministry with not a lot of money is you got to multiply through partnerships. This is another strategy. Partner with schools, with nonprofits. You can partner with other churches. You can partner with your city. One of the ways that you can do this is that you can attach yourself and your church to things that are already happening, right? You don't have to create it from scratch, all right? You can attach yourself to things. So for us, like if every year your local high school has homecoming, or they do a harvest festival, or the city does, some kind of parade, and they need all this stuff where they want more cars, as many cars in the parade as possible. They want as many people to come and support. They need volunteers. They need all of those different things. Well, guess what? If you want a cheap way to do outreach, find an elementary school or a high school or a middle school that's already doing a fall festival, and ask, do y'all need volunteers? And they say, yes, we absolutely need some volunteers. Go volunteer in your church shirt and say, hey, can we just put a flyer in the goodie bags? Guess what? You can get the word out about your church. You can talk to people. You can meet people. And all you're doing is piggybacking on an event they're already doing. They already paid for it. They already planned it. All you got to do is show up and do what they ask you to do. If they ask the volunteers to park cars, you go park cars and tell people about the church. They ask you hey, can you manage this game? You manage the game and tell people about the church, right? You can do it through partnerships. If you want to do excellent ministry without spending a whole lot of money, you got to do partnerships. All right. And so when you start making those partnerships, you can do a whole lot of work. Again, I told y'all this before. We partnered with the high school one time. They needed to paint. And I said, look, if y'all get the paint and the tools, I'll bring the people. And I took the people. And you best believe we took pictures. What the story on Instagram said, well, it wasn't Instagram at the time, but what did the Facebook story say? Today, we went and we painted the entire school. We did a refreshing, I want to say thank you to all the champs who came out and helped us, who blah, blah, blah. I ain't got to go into details about the budget. I ain't got to tell them who paid for what and who did what. All they see is pictures of us in our shirts painting the school. And we go out and tell that story because that was a partnership. We gave our time. We gave our energy and we made a difference. What are the partnerships you can capitalize on? What are the partnerships you can capitalize on? We were just having this conversation today. One of the campuses of our church here in Birmingham is getting ready to have a homecoming parade. And they say, hey, look, does your campus in our area want to be in the parade? Easy. That costs a little bit of nothing. All it costs you a little bit of some people who are willing to go in some time. And you can go walk in that parade with your shirts on, pass out flyers, and that's it. And I think we're going to get 1,000 flyers, probably 10 or 15 volunteers who are willing to walk in the parade, and we're going to go walk. Simple. One of the things me and my wife used to do, we would go to the local high school, set up in the teacher's lounge, and just feed them. Did that have to be a lot? Yeah, that's right. Look at what Pastor Ty said in the chat. Buy donuts for Teachers Appreciation Week. That's easy. Put the church logo on the table in the teachers' lounge. That's easy. What we used to like to do, I wanted to give them out personally. So I would go to the teachers' lounge, have them call the teachers to have somebody come watch their class, and they walk down to the teachers' lounge. And we just say, hey, look, we want to let y'all know we appreciate y'all. Thank y'all so much. They like, oh, man, it's so good. Where y'all from? Oh, here's our church. Check us out. Partnerships. Partnership. All right. And I want you to start thinking about how can you put some outreaches. I think we're in September right now. You should be thinking about how could you get at least one outreach on your calendar for the rest of the year. How could you get at least one on your calendar for the rest of the year? We're actually getting ready to talk about this on our coaching call. So all of our partners, we're going to be talking about this very soon because y'all know how I get around the holidays and Christmas and New Year's and stuff like that. I think that's a huge opportunity. And so we're going to roll out exactly how to do it. Last year, we had a church of 15 people, a church who has been at 15 people for almost 8 years. That has been their church. It has been their congregation. Last year, we helped them plan Christmas. We helped them plan their end of the year outreach for Christmas. 57 people showed up to church. Talked to that pastor just a couple of days ago. He said, nah, man, we still retained some of those people from way back in Christmas. We still got them. They still in here. From 15 to 57. And a huge part of it was partnerships. All right. And so we're going to get ready to roll it out again. All right. Last one, number 5. This is so important. And I want to stop and I want to get really personal with my leaders right here. Focus on vision, not budget. Focus on vision, not budget. Man, listen. Somebody said, I think Pastor Carey said this in the chat earlier. Dreaming is free. Dreaming is free. Like you cannot keep aborting these visions that God is trying to birth in you because you're operating in fear and you're letting the budget determine your yes or your no. Man, ministry doesn't work like that. There are some places where it may not be in your hand yet, but God put it in your heart. And your task is, number 1, dream it all the way through. And then come back and figure out now how do we do it. Man, let me tell y'all something. And listen, so many of my lessons came from my first time as a church planter. I feel like we used to say we had strength shoes on. Like God sent us through a season where stuff was unusually hard. Because once we came through it, there is no situation in ministry you can put me in. And I feel like I can't, with the help of the Holy Spirit, work my way out of it. It just doesn't exist. Because I remember pastoring a church and we didn't have a whole lot of money. And in our lobby, it used to get hot because we had these big old glass windows. And I was like, man, we're going to get us some drapes for those windows, some drapes that look real nice, and we're going to go. Now, mind you, never bought drapes a day in my life. So I go on the internet to find us some drapes, only to discover that drapes to fit this lobby going to cost us $3,000. We don't have $300 in the bank, okay? But we got to go get some drapes. So I'm like, no, we're not going to do it. So I'm talking to one of my guys who was my assistant pastor at the time. I'm like, bro, we got to cover this up because, our volunteers, they couldn't stand out there because it literally got so hot. It felt like an oven in the lobby because the sun was beating right at that window and that glass would just cook whoever was there. So women was coming in with their hair sweated out just from being greeters in the lobby. I said, bro, we got to find a solution to block that sun. He said, all right, I think I got something. I'll figure it out. I was like, all right, bet. Because by now, him and I think alike. This bro went to Walmart and bought a $5 pack of black twin bed sheets. I kid you not. Bro took like $30 to Walmart and came back with 5 packs of bed sheets because he measured it out. He was an engineer. He measured it out and just so happened it was the exact size that we needed. And bro, we finagled it and we put them bed sheets on them windows to the point by the time we finished it, man, we had put all kind of stuff on it. I think at one point we had banners hanging on it, all kind of stuff. It looked like it was a professional setup. And instead of spending $3,000, we spent $30,000. Why? Because we did not let budget dictate vision. We had to solve that problem. We were not going to lose our volunteers. We did not want to change our culture, because a part of our culture at that time was that when service got out, Pastor and First Lady was going to be standing at the door. You couldn't get out the door until you shook our hand or hugged our neck. But if the sun was beaming down and it was 100 degrees in that room, we were going to have to change our culture, and we weren't going to do it. So we found a solution, and we didn't let budget dictate. One year I told him, I said, we're doing a fall festival. And I ain't gonna lie, I was tired. It was probably 1 week's notice. And I told them we was gonna do it. They was like, what's the budget? I said, we got like $250. I gave them $250 and told them to pull off a fall festival. I kid you not. Y'all, I was crazier back in the day. I was still a little crazy, but I was real crazy back in the day. And I literally, and here's what's crazy. I left the church and went back home. It was like, man, look, I just need y'all to figure it out. Like, y'all got it, like, figure it out. And I left. I came back a day later. I said, hey, where we at? How's this fall festival going to look? They called the fire department, and they asked the fire chief, hey, fire chief, we got some kids coming to our church for a fall festival. Can y'all come park one of y'all trucks over at the church in the front, so the kids can come and see it and see everything and see the firemen, one of the firemen in their uniforms? Police chief, absolutely, sure. Kids loved it. Kids was all over the fire truck. They was pulling the horn all night. They was pulling out, showing them the water tanks and the axes. They was taking pictures in the helmets, all of that. Y'all know how much that cost us? $0. I went inside. They had taken plywood and red Solo cups and made a Plinko type game where you just, like on Plinko, where you put the little thing in and it just bounce around until it fall. They had made a cup toss. And it was basically a college beer pong game that was made kid friendly, but they figured it out. Because when we got ready to do something, it was our motto that we believe we were the A team. If you give us a day, we could be good. If you give us a week, we could be great. If you give us a month, I don't care what you say, we're going to get it done. That was our motto. And so what I'm saying to you, Pastor, is that you got to come back to a place. Don't be crazy like I was. I'm not telling you to do that. But what I am saying is you got to stop letting the budget kill your dreaming. Give God an opportunity to show up in your life and in your church in ways that you don't expect. Keep on dreaming, because you dreaming is going to be the platform for the vision that you cast. If you stop dreaming, you're going to stop casting vision. And you've got to cast vision significantly. People give to vision, not need. I went to a training from a guy who raises money, used to be a state president for one of the Baptist conventions. And he has a fundraising company now. And one of the things he said, I'll never forget, I still got it in my notes. He said, people give to vision, not need. People are not going to give just because you need something. People want to be a part of a winner. They give to vision. And if you can cast a vision, people will give to it. If you can cast a vision, people will give to it. But you got to have it. At least once a year, you need to have a vision Sunday. You need to have a vision Sunday where you can lay out in great detail, here's where we're going. Here's what we're building. Here's who we're becoming. You need to lay it out. That's one of the things that we're doing this year for the Underdog Conference. For those of you who have registered as VIP, when we do our one-on-one VIP call, one of the things that I'm going to create for you is I'm going to create a vision document. And that vision document is going to say, here's where we hope to be in the next 5 years. Here's where we hope to be in the next 3 years. Here's be in the next 1 year. Here's what we got to get done in the next 90 days. And I may shorten the time on that. It may go 30 days, 6 months, 1 year, 3 years, or something like that. But we've got a framework where we build it and we use it. We do it every year for the retreat. And this year we expanded it so those of you who register VIP, I'm going to build it with you, not just our team, but me personally. I'm going to get on a call with you for 45 minutes. We're going to talk. And in that conversation, I'm going to get everything I need to build your vision for you, and I'll send it to you. You can review it, you can walk through it, but you're going to walk away with the next 12 months really, really clear. And that's one of the things that you need. All right. So look at this. Look at what the scripture says. Proverbs 11:24. One gives freely, yet grows all the richer. Another which withholds what he should give and only suffers want. Listen, not investing in the things that matter is only going to take you in the opposite direction. Hear me. Not investing in the thing that matters is going to make your situation worse rather than better. Worse rather than better. All right. So look at this. Let me give you this, and then we're going to close out. I want to show you some advantages for those of you who are small churches. Here are some of your advantages, some of the things that work in your favor. And I want you to hear me on this. Y'all, and I keep looking because it's a bug that came in my office, and he is flying around me, and I cannot ignore it because it bugs me. Look, I got history with bugs now. I can't play with it. All right. So look at this. Here are some advantages of a small church, and I want y'all to hear this. Number one, low overhead should make you more agile. This is why I encourage you not to put too much of your budget into your building. Don't let your building suck up so much that you lose your agility and your flexibility. Now, if you got the space for it, by all means, go for it. But your low overhead makes you more agile. You know, here's the truth as a senior leader. And I know this because I talk to pastors every day. But one of the things that's true is that when you decide to make a move in a smaller church, 95% of the time you can do it with very little bureaucracy. If you decide that there's something that you want to do. Prime example, I was talking to a pastor the other day. He said, man, I love this. He says, I'm telling you right now, we coming into the program. We finna join. I'm joining first thing Monday morning. I said, okay, cool. I said, who you need to talk to? He says, I just want to bring it before my team because I want to give them the honor. He says, but I can call them. I mean, it's just three of us. I can pick up the phone right now and say, hey, y'all, I found this thing that I think is really an answer to our prayer. We want to jump into it. We need to do this. Let's go. All right, let's do it. So whenever I talk to a pastor and he says, well, no, I got to think, that's just his nice way of saying like, this not a fit. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I get it. Right. But when you have a low overhead and you are a small congregation, you're a small church, in 95% of the cases, when you decide to take action, you can take action. And when you have a church that is slow, it is often a sign of a pastor who is slow. Here's the truth. When you slow in obeying God, people will be slow in obeying you. Oh, my goodness. That might be the line of the night right there. Somebody put that in the chat. Underdog, put that on a T-shirt. When you are slow obeying God, people will be slow obeying you. Because really and truly, you're just called to be an echo. You called to just say what he said. And if you're slow in obeying him, it's not even fair for you to sit up here and expect people to just be fast in obeying you. You got to move when God calls you to move. All right. So it's easier for you to pivot. Here's another thing that's an advantage for you. Every dollar means so much more in an intimate church, in a small church. Every dollar means so much more. And so you can stay lean in your operations. You can carry so many more things yourself. You can do so many more things that with volunteers that you don't throw at staff and all this kind of stuff. You can do it. And what makes that so powerful is that when people support you, they should be able to see their dollars in action immediately. They should be able to see it in action immediately. They don't have to wait for it. They can see it like right now. They can see it like, oh, okay, man, he said this, we did this. Dang, it's working. It's going. It's happening. It's already moving right now. All right, they can see it. Here's another thing. If you are a smaller church, I want to encourage you to build a culture of transparency. Build a culture of transparency. Like, let people see what the truth is. Stop hiding the truth from people. Some of y'all are making the mistake of shielding your people from the reality that they are not giving at the level where they should. And some of them aren't giving because they think you're better off than you really are. And you need to be honest. People need to know. People need to know. That's why you create a financial report at the end of the year and say, look, if you're a part of this church, you want to know how we doing, what's going on, you can come and look at the list right here. They need to know, here's what we paying to be in this building. That's why I keep telling y'all, if y'all come across a building, y'all see something that's a good idea, y'all let me know. All right. So make sure, here's what this building costs. Here's how much comes in. Because they looking around and they think everybody who walk into that plate is going up there and really giving. And some people just going to touch it. They see people pull out their phone when it's time for giving. Some of those people just going on Facebook and TikTok. And they think you got all this stuff that you don't have. But a part of that you can solve by being transparent. A part of that you can solve by saying, hey, it cost us $3,000, $5,000 a month to operate, and we're bringing in $5,500 a month. Right? You've got to develop a degree of transparency. And I know that's something that's always been a taboo subject in the Black church. But I'm telling you, people can handle more than you think. If somebody leaves you because they're unhappy or they're jealous or because they're mad about what you're bringing in, they're not for you. Let them go. But the people who are really in your corner, they deserve honesty from you. So give it to them. All right. And last but not least is I want you to understand that in order to be a small church with a big vision, it's going to take sacrifice. Sacrifice from you, sacrifice from your people is going to take sacrifice. There's no way around it. It's going to take sacrifice. And so one of the things that you've got to do is that you have got to give people something worth sacrificing for. You got to let them know why their sacrifice matters. You got to let them know why their sacrifice is making a difference. You got to cast a kingdom-sized vision that lets people know what you're doing with what they're giving. So put this in a perspective. Those dollars that people put in the offering plate, they represent hours of their life. They represent hours of people's lives. What are you doing in exchange for the 20 hours of my life I just gave you? If I work 40 hours a week, I'm tithing. If I'm tithing you 4 hours a week of my paycheck. So that means at the end of the month, every month, I'm giving you 16 hours of my life through my tithe. And I hadn't even gotten to my offering. So let's round it off for the offering. Every month, if I put in the offering plate 20 hours of my life, what do we have to show for it in return? I'm giving you 20 hours of my life. How are you stewarding that? How are you stewarding that? Right? This is going to be another topic, but this is one of the reasons that some churches are struggling to get people to serve, to get them to plug in. Because if you don't steward their life well through giving, they know they're not going to give you their life and their time. You want me to give you 20 hours of my money because I'm being obedient and I got to do it. I got to give it somewhere. But you want me to give me 20 hours of my life through tithe and then another 5 hours of my life through my time. If you want me to do that, you got to steward it well. And that's a hard conversation, but it's a true one. It's true. All right. So here's what I want you to think about as I give you your closing charge. In your church culture, what is a vision that your people get excited about giving to sacrificially? What's a vision that your people excitedly give to? They will sacrificially give and make no qualms about it. What is it for them? What is it for them? All right. Let's close out here. Last piece, and we're going to go. All right. Here's my challenge to you. Stop waiting and start walking. The devil might have been trying to convince you that you don't have enough money to do it. And I came to stand in direct opposition to that lie and tell you, you have enough to do what God has called you to do. You have enough right now, right this moment, to do what God has called you to do. But you got to step into it. You got to step into it. You got to move forward, right? I just gave you a framework. I just gave you a blueprint, but you got to hear me. You got to stop waiting on them resources to come in and start walking in the vision with the resources you already have. Start walking with the resources you already got. It's time for you to go. It's time for you to move forward. It's time for you to take off. It's time for you to stop waiting. It's time for you to stop being afraid. You got to step into what God has already given you. This is your time. This is your season to do it. All right. I want to pray for you. Before I pray, I want to remind you, I want every person, I just put it on the screen. I just put it in the chat, but I want you right now to go and register for the Underdog Conference. Our conference is just a little over a month away. And as we get closer and closer to it, I want you to go ahead and get registered because we're getting ready to go into our final price increase. So our price is about to increase yet again. So go right now to the underdogconference.com and go and register. And not just you, but your team. Your team, your people need to register. One of the reasons that we're doing this is because I know what it's like to keep going to conferences and come home to people who did not have the experience you had. And that's what I kept on doing. I was stuck in that loop, man. Like I would leave and I would go to a conference and I would come back all fired up and ready to go. And I'm excited about what God is going to do. And I come back to people who didn't have that experience. They didn't learn what I learned. They didn't experience what I experienced. And so I said then, I said, if we ever do a conference, we're going to do it so the team can get just as much out of it as the leader. And so that's what we've got with this 3-day virtual conference. Everything is online, October 23rd through 25th. It's a Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. We'll have session during the day. We'll have sessions at night in the evening. And then Saturday, we'll have a morning session, then a special VIP session where we're going to have some of our speakers join us. One of our speakers who is going to be joining us is the social media director for one of the fastest growing churches in Atlanta. And she's going to come in and show you exactly how to organize your social media and your social media plan so that you can thrive in the times that we live in. All right. And so I want you to plug in, right? If you're working during the day, if you register for Elite or VIP, you'll be able to get the replays, right? So you'll be able to get the replays. If you register for Underdog Plus or Underdog Elite, you will be able to get 30 days of replays. You'll be able to get the workbooks. You'll be able to get the access to the vault. I'm going to give all of our registrants who are Plus and Elite a ton of resources. I've got a ton of different resources that I'm going to be adding. So we're going to give you a vault that's going to have over 30 resources in it if you register Plus or Elite, because I want you to walk away equipped. And here's my big goal. I want everybody who attends this conference, whether you are a pastor, you are a business owner, you are an entrepreneur, you are somebody who's considering starting a business, whatever your story is, I want you to leave with a clear plan for the next 12 months. And so I am currently working on the framework and the template. I'm going to give you the template. And my goal is to have you build out and complete that template in real time as we walk together and go throughout this conference. So I'm telling you, it's worth you coming. But I'm saying to you, if you're a pastor and you're coming to the Underdog Conference, now those of you who are in our programs, all of the pastors in our programs, you already have a free VIP ticket. So you're already in, you're Underdog Elite, so you're going to be good to go. But I'm challenging you, don't come with anything less than 10 people from your church. Have 10 people from your church to go and register now so we can put the training in their hands. We can put the tools in their hands so that they get the experience that they need as we get ready to go forward. All right. So listen, I hope this has been a blessing to you. I want to take a moment and pray for you. I want to take a moment and lift you up. All right. So if there is one thing, I want everybody to take a moment and just drop in the chat just one prayer request, just one prayer request. What is one area related to what we talked about tonight, whether it's vision, whether it's faith, whether it's fear, whatever it is, one thing, one area, even if you walk through some of the things that we talked about, whether it's making sure you have stewardship, making sure you're building a culture of generosity. What can I pray for you and your church? I want you to go and put it in the chat right now. As you put it in the chat, as I close in prayer, I'm going to lift you up by name. I want to pray for you and your church by name. So take a moment and go in there right now and let me know how I can pray for you, how I can lift you up, how I can be here for you. All of those things, everything, right? And registration is per person. It's per person. Registration is per person. Great question. Registration is per person. So again, Pastors who are in our programs, you already have your elite ticket, but have your people to go and register so they can be plugged in, all right? So let me know, how can I pray for you by name? Let me know right now in the chat. Got him. Let me know in the chat how I can pray for you. Yep, I'm over here fighting that bug. I got him, though. He gone now. So let me know, how can I pray for you? What is one thing we can pray for? I want to call you by name, and I want to pray for you, all right? I give y'all about 10 more seconds to do that, and then I'm gonna jump in and start praying. All right, I see some of you already vision and faith, reignite the vision, recast the vision, make it clear, stewardship, love it. I see it. And let me tell you what I love about the prayer requests, even just the ones I see so far, is you've heard the heart of what I'm trying to communicate tonight. In that whenever you see things being slow, before you look out there, look in here. Look in here. Don't just look at the people and say what the people got to do and look here first. Look here first. That's one of the things that we'll be talking about over the next couple of weeks. But listen, you are God's set man or woman for a reason. He put you there. He put you there to solve the problem. If something's not working well, that's why you're there. We don't send water. We don't ship water to rivers and lakes. We take water to dry places. And the Lord often sends you into these places because these places need what you have to bring and what you have to give. All right, so let's pray. Father, we thank you so much tonight for your word to us. I thank you that we can do excellent ministry even when we don't have a big budget. So, Father, tonight I lift up every leader, every person underneath the sound of my voice, whether they're watching live or they're going to watch the replay at some later date. Father, I lift up to you right now, Kayla and Tremel, that you would just continue to give them greater vision and faith. I pray, God, that wherever they are, whatever it is they're believing for, whatever you're doing in their ministry, God, I pray right now that you would clarify the vision. Even in their sleep, give them a clear picture of where you're taking them and where you want to take the church. And let that vision be so captivating that it captures their heart. God, I pray for Pastor Paula Little and Kingdom Authority. I pray, God, that the work that you have already started in them, that this is just the tip of the iceberg. I pray, God, that you are going to exceed her expectations. I pray even now that her vision would begin to expand. God, that her vision of just hanging in there and staying in there and keeping it going is now beginning to open up even more. I pray that you would even bring back visions that bring back the creativity that she maybe had in a previous season. And I pray that you would give them all that they need to drive this thing forward. I pray for Pastor Eden's Kebrew. I pray, God, that you would reignite his vision. God, that you would help them recast and make that vision very, very clear. God, I pray that as you continue to reignite the vision in them, I pray that you would surround him and surround them with the support that they need. Give them the help that they need, that they don't go this journey alone, but this time make this season different because there's somebody new on the team. Because there's somebody else that you have brought alongside them to help drive them forward into the future that you have for them. Father, I pray that when they recast this vision, that people will begin to take it as their own. And it would not be pastor's vision, but it would be our vision. I pray that they would grab it. I pray for Pastor Pierce and what you're doing at J-Rock. I pray, God, that you would teach them and continue to help them to be faithful stewards. I pray, God, that you would bring them into a season where they can see the miracle of the 2 fish and the 5 loaves. I pray that they would see you do so much with so little. I pray that you would bring them into a season that even as they multiply, even as they have more, that you would take what's in their hands and multiply it for your glory. God, in the text, it was 2 fish and 5 loaves. But I pray, God, even if he's got 10 fish and 50 loaves, that you would stretch it and help them to be great stewards of it. And I would pray that they would be such a great steward of what you put in their hands. I pray that people from all over the city, people from all over the area, people from all over Gainesville would begin to come to them saying, how can we support? I pray, God, that you would even give them Give them favor with grocery stores, and give them favor with large corporations who want to make donations and have partnerships with them in order to help them do more. I pray, God, that you would just continue to allow that vision to develop and to go forward. Father, I pray for Skylight in Kansas City, God, that you would continue to give them vision, that you would give them what they need to drive forward and to drive ahead and to step into what you have called them to do. God, I pray that that vision would become clear, that they would know exactly what you called them to do and where you called them to go. God, I pray for Latoya and Victorious Woman in Simple Systems, that you would just continue to give her faith and give her the ability to persevere, to navigate through every season. God, knowing that you are the God of the breakthrough, that you are an on-time God, that you are a God who lives not by chronos, but by kairos, that in due season, you will bring visions to pass and you will bring things to fruition. You will bring it to bear as you have said for, God, that you have spoken it and it shall come to pass. Father, I pray even for Pastor Karen Barnes and them in Plant City, Florida. God, I pray that you would continue to give her what she needs to effectively and frequently reiterate the vision, especially as they prepare for a time of transition. I pray, God, that the vision would be so clear that even as a new voice emerges, God, that the communication would continue to be consistent. Give them what they need. I pray for Stephanie White. And I pray, God, for the ministry that she and her parents are building. I pray, God, that you would bring about a shift in their mindset, God, that you would bring about a shift for them, whereby everybody begins to get on the same page about what is possible, that no one would settle, but that they would move boldly into what you have set before them, that they would move boldly into every opportunity that you have given them, that they would move boldly into what you want to do and what you will do through them and through their church. And Father, I pray that as we all follow your will and follow your way, as we all trust you, as we all walk with you, as we all lean and depend on you, Father, that we would see you do what only you can do. Father, I pray that however it is we can help these leaders, help us to help them. However we can serve them, help us to serve them. But at the end of the day, I pray that your glory would be the goal. God, I pray that no church would suffer more than it should, that no pastor would burn out when it's not necessary, that no pastor would be discouraged, God, when you are there to be with him and be for him, God, but that they would stand with you boldly, knowing that you have their backs. God, I pray that your will would be done in their life. In Jesus' name, amen. Listen, I hope that was helpful. That dang old bug came and got me again. That's all right. We finna fight when I get off of here. But I hope that was helpful to you, man. And I pray that it was a blessing. And I just pray that that this was like, are y'all praying for me over there? Like, I'm over here fighting for my life, man. The bug done went all in my shirt. I just expelled him from my shirt and he done flew off again. Like, are y'all praying? Listen, y'all got to be praying for me out here in the spirit. Come on, we got to be warring in the spirit out here. All right, but listen, I pray that this was helpful. I pray that this was helpful and a blessing to you. Please make sure that not only are you getting this, but your teams are getting it, because it's going to be a blessing for everybody involved. All right, listen, this is a little bit longer episode tonight, but thank you for hanging out with me. I hope it's a blessing, and I hope to see you again very soon. All right, listen, go right now, register for the Underdog Conference, theunderdogconference.com. I'm going to be checking my email to see if you registered, because we're getting excited and we're getting closer and closer to our goal, so that we can get it. I hope this doesn't show up in your clips too, right? And if you that's going to be a blooper, is what that's going to be, me fighting the bug while I'm in the middle of I'm in the spirit and had to come out for a quick second to get into the thing. But I'm going to be looking to see how many of you register for the conference. So make sure you go and register. I look forward to it. Thank y'all. I'm glad it's been a blessing to you. Listen, I hope y'all have a great night. I will look forward to seeing you again, same place next week. God bless you. I love you, and I will see you soon. Peace.